I think the big issue now is how to address the problems we have with really little to no new resources. I mean, 2 years ago we were talking about cost. We didn't know where the money was going to come from. I think we now know pretty clearly that there's not a lot of new money on the horizon, federal or otherwise. So you hear a lot about the need to work smarter, but election officials really have to be aware that the cavalry probably isn't coming with regard to resources in the next few election cycles. And so that means using data and existing resources to get the best we can out of the election laws and technology and personnel that we already have. You always want to be investing in your state election operations. The challenge, as I know just about every NCSL member knows, is that the resources are a problem. And so this notion that you're going to be able to spend your way to better elections likely isn't going to happen. I think that to the extent you do see states and localities investing money, it's going to be to patch holes or improve processes going forward. And so identifying what needs truly are critical and what will cause the election system to fail will probably have to be jobs 1, 2, and 3 for legislators for the foreseeable future. The challenge, honestly, right now is that the voting technology market is pretty badly broken, as is the regulatory regime designed to test and certify voting equipment. We have a federal testing regime that was enacted as part of the Help America Vote Act, and with the rather dire circumstance of the Election Assistance Commission, that process is essentially ground to a halt. And because that process is ground to a halt, vendors haven't been able to certify new machines, which means that states and localities don't have new machines to buy. So we're in the middle of what I call a sclerosis in voting technology across the country. And I think really what states are going to have to think about is, one, what exactly do they want their voting technology to do? Not just how it should operate, but how will it interact with things like vote by mail and election day vote centers and changes to the polling place on election day. But also whether or not the state wants to rely on the federal government for testing and certification of voting equipment. You're starting to see on the registration side more and more interest in using technology to help voters find their polling place and then check folks in at the polls. I think one of the costs that many jurisdictions are looking at are electronic poll books. The upside is that those are relatively new and at least intuitively seem to have promise. They're not certified, though, and I think that one of the things that states and localities are going to have to do is make sure that they think about how those electronic poll books are going to work as seriously as they think about how well voting technology works. But I think it's undeniable that even as we fight about whether or not to cast our votes on paper ballots, that technology is finding its way into lots of other areas of the election process.